Hey guys, this is Tarot with Kittens, Weights, and Tarot, and today I would like to show off my pendulum collection. Pendulums, they're not always stones, so some of my pendulums are actual crystals, and since I like rocks and stones and crystals and all those different types of things, I like to show them off because they're beautiful. But here is my take on pendulums. I know there are some people that believe that pendulums, they move on their own accord. Maybe it's spirit moving them, maybe it's a spirit guide, maybe it's, whatever, energy swirling around the pendulum causes it to swing one way or the next. For some it spins, for some it swings, back and forth, for some it, maybe just shakes or, whatever it may be. But I believe it's the person holding the pendulum that actually moves the pendulum. So as still as I try to make my hand when I'm holding the pendulum, it's microcosm or micro movements within my own hand that I believe move the pendulum. So do I believe that it's me consciously trying to move the pendulum? I think that sometimes our subconscious would like certain outcomes, so it might sway one way or the next. I do believe that sometimes it's our higher self coming through, and it could be spirit coming through you, the medium, meaning the vessel that is holding the pendulum. And so if you're talking to spirit, I would say that spirit is then connecting with your energy, the person who is holding the pendulum, and then micro movements are then made within your own hand. But I do believe, when it's all broken down, that the person holding the pendulum is ultimately the person moving the pendulum. So I think it's a little bit different than tarot, where you're just kind of shuffling cards, and to me that's like a different type of energy, and I have like a different thought process for tarot cards. But for pendulums, I do believe it is us that is moving it, whether consciously or unconsciously. And so for me, if I want a pendulum to, quote unquote work, I want to get a straight answer, a truthful answer, whether I'm talking to spirit, I'm talking to my higher self, or I'm just kind of talking to the universe. I believe if you're emotionally charged about something and you're really wanting a certain outcome to happen, then maybe that's not the best time to be working with the pendulum, or actually tarot cards or any other divinatory tool. Anytime you're really emotionally charged about something, like I really want this to happen, you could have somebody else hold the pendulum while you ask the question. You could just maybe wait till you calm down a little bit and center yourself before then going ahead with the pendulum. So this again is just that's my own personal take with pendulum. So let's say, I really want to win the lottery or something, and I'm like, will I win the lottery? And I'm holding it and it's swinging. Yes, I'm like, yes, I'm gonna win the lottery. To me, that's subconsciously I'm moving it to a favorable answer because that's the answer I want to see. So if I just like cool off and make myself a little bit more detached from the situation, really, like, I mean, if I won the lottery, that'd be pretty awesome, but I'm pretty grateful for everything I have right now. And so if I don't, it's not the end of the world, and I consider myself pretty lucky right now. I'm just like a lot more centered, a lot more cool about it. And I do the pendulum, and the pendulum's like, no. I'm like, well, I wasn't too connected to one way or the other. If I am speaking with spirit, as you know, I'm a medium, and I have various ways I could speak with spirit. One of the ways I like to communicate with them is through pendulum. I can do it that way, but I do have to be very aware that if there are other spirits around that could be causing it to move one way or the next, or some spirits might be blocking a certain spirit from speaking, so that's a whole other thing. Anyway, I just thought I would show off my pretties, and before that I just wanted to give you guys my take on pendulums. Yes, I believe that ultimately, if I'm holding the pendulum, I'm moving it, but it could be higher self, could be other energies coming through me to move it. Spirit, things like that. So without further ado, let's take a look at my little pendulum collection.
All right, you guys, so here are my pretties, and I'll talk about each one. Some of them are not like stones, some of them are man-made stones, and I just wanna do a little hey, this is what I have. Okay, so very first one here is a Lemurian seed quartz. And for me, I don't use this one very often, but it's more when I'm going into meditation. So I often use it with my eyes closed, and then I'll maybe open my eyes after asking certain questions just to kind of see which way it's swinging. But oftentimes I can kind of feel which way it's swinging. But it's a beautiful little crystal here, and sometimes, yeah, it does get a little caught up here. And I'm trying to figure out when I got this one. It might have been like a little maybe street fair, but yeah, this one is more of my meditation stone. So this is the Lemurian seed quartz. You can make your own pendulums, and I have, and I'll show you guys those in a moment. Just make sure the chain is long enough for it to swing. So I don't know, this is, I think, maybe like a 6 or 7 inch chain. You could put a little doodad on the end. When I bought it, it was just this little ring, and I sometimes I put a little charm on the end, but I figured this, I don't know, fit between my fingers just fine. And yeah, so that is my little Lemurian seed quartz. My next pendulum, this one is actually Obsidian. It's black Obsidian. Ooh, a little blown out on the highlights there. And I got this in a trade, actually. I traded, I remember it was like a couple of tarot decks or something, and I ended up getting like some crystals. And this, actually it was 2 pendulums and a crystal for the decks that I sent. And so the person who sent this to me, they actually made it themselves. So they did the little wiring and everything, and they put like this little, I don't know if you guys can see, like quartz and like a little you know, the quartz with the little little striations in them, like the little black slivers. And I know that stone, it's just for whatever reason escaping my brain right now. And then she put a little arrowhead doodad on the end here, which I thought was pretty cool. So this one, I don't know, I don't use it that often. And I think that I have a harder time connecting with this one. But I do use it. It's just not that often. And you'll find that just like with tarot decks, like certain tarot decks or oracle decks, like you use them in certain readings. That's kind of like me and my pendulum. So like the first one was more for meditation. For this one, it's kind of for your like everyday questions. But like I said, I just don't use it that often. This next one I got at South American Imports. I think they actually still have a lot of these. It's like little stone angel above a little like quartz crystal. And I don't know, it just like really called to me, and I thought it was pretty cool. But this is like just a little brown agate. I can't tell you what type of agate, but I know that it's an agate. Very beautiful. It's got its translucence to it. To me, this one is very grounded. So if I feel like I need some guidance, I'm also having a hard time grounding myself before asking for that guidance. And I'm trying to connect to higher beings, not necessarily like angels, but you know, any sort of higher being that has my best interest at heart. That's when I'll bust this out. And again, I just feel that this stone is very grounding, helps to center and ground my own energy as I try to connect to those higher beings, you know, just for whatever I may need help with, not necessarily like everyday stuff, but more like, you know, I'm at a little bit of a crossroads and I need a little bit of help. So this is beautiful for that. And I just want to show you some of the metal work here. Is fabulous, and this little crystal is fabulous too. And then on the end, they just had a little bead, so you know, I left it like that. Okay, so this next one is scolecite. I think that's how you pronounce it, or yeah, scolecite. It has that. It's like a beautiful, like it looks 3-dimensional when you look at the stone. On top of here, I believe this is cavensite. So the scolecite or solecite with cavensite. But this one is kind of like my go-to. So if I have questions of any sort, I don't know, I just feel that this one's really high vibe, and it helps to declutter what other thoughts may be in my brain to kind of help me hone in on like a truthful answer. So yeah, so it's my Scolecite with Cavinsite. Okay, this is my littlest one, and it's the one that came with my Obsidian arrowhead one, and also created by, you know, the person that I traded the deck with. It's also my littlest one. I think this is like a 4-inch chain or something like that, so it's just a little one. But it's, I don't know, it's dainty. I haven't used it all that much, but I keep it around because it's cute. So I probably just used this a couple of times, but it's got little moons and stars, and on the end it's just got like a nice little quartz bead. So yeah, I keep it around. It's a good travel one. So, you know, because it is tiny, and you know, it's not like the stone's gonna break or anything like that. So yeah, that's why I like this one. This is my rose quartz. If I'm needing a little extra comfort, I'm a little emotionally distressed, and I'm looking for some answers, or I'm looking for some guidance, like from my higher self or something like that, maybe from my heart chakra, I will use my rose quartz. I did add this little star charm on the end. I just thought it kind of like added to it. But again, like all these chains are about the same size except for that little one. So it's like 6 or 7-inch chains. It did already have this little bead here. And then there was just one of the, like a hoop, you know, and I didn't really like that. So I decided to add this little charm. But yeah, this is just a nice piece of raw rose quartz. And yeah, I just find it to be rather soothing. Moving on to my ruby and fuchsite. So I do have another stone already. I have ruby and fuchsite, but I now have it in pendulum form. And I believe I got this one at the local gem fair. So when they come into town, again, it just came with this like little bead on the end. But yeah, I just want to bring you in because it's so pretty. And this one, every now and then, you know, and I don't have particular questions for this one, or themes of questions for this one. It's just kind of like when I feel like I need some like ruby and fuchsite, you know, then I'll bust this one out. I don't feel that it is too soft or too harsh, you know, so maybe like Baby Bear, it's just right. Okay, for this one, I was at, I think it was at a gem fair up in Del Mar with one of my very, very good friends who lives up in Orange County. And this one is just, well, it's pretty clear. It's not perfectly clear, but it is clear quartz. And it did just have this chain with nothing on the end. And then I decided to buy this like little piece of our quartz. Of course, it's been fashioned into a point, just a piece of regular quartz. And then it's been coated so that it has that aura look to it. And I just thought it had like a really good, like, because this is so heavy that I could just hold it like this, and, you know, and then it could do its thing. But yeah, so this is really beautiful. This is just your clear quartz. This is also another go-to. So, you know, my Scolecite, my rose quartz a lot, and this one are kind of my workhorses whenever I do use my pendulums. For me, more often than not, I read like nature, and I read signs and tarot cards and oracle cards, and then I would say pretty close after that is my pendulums. And so yeah, so this is a workhorse. One of my pendulums that I have a harder time getting along with, but I'm not giving up on it, and this was I got it off of eBay, I believe, because I loved the Nefertiti charm, and I love everything Egypt, and, you know, Nefertiti, and I mean, it's kind of my last name too, so, you know, I've just been born loving that. And so I was like, oh, I have to get this pendulum, and it's a beautiful purple and green fluorite pendulum, and it just seems like it has such a tough and rough energy. and sometimes a little like snarky, and maybe that's just a facet of my personality that comes out when I use this pendulum. So yeah, it doesn't get used very often, but I'm not giving up on it. I'm like, I will connect to this pendulum. I had thought about giving it to my uncle several times because he loves Egypt and Nefertiti, but I'm like, no, I will not give up on this pendulum. We will connect. Right, and then this beautiful pendulum I got at South American Imports, in Old Town San Diego, just like I got the Angel one. Again, it has the quartz on the bottom, and I correct me if I mispronounce this, but I call it a Merkava, or it could be a Merkab or Merkaba. I call it a Merkava. And it's just a wonderful little quartz inside this like little cage here. Yes, it does spin, and it does have a beautiful little quartz at the top that's been glued in. I use this one also for meditation. When I want to go to some pretty trippy realms, that's when I'm going to bust this out. So, and I think that's kind of what this shape is for. But yeah, if I'm gonna go to some trippy realms, this is gonna be my go-to. But this here, this is just glass. It's just kind of a crystal. It's just glass. It's man-made glass. I've put actually I made this little wire thing. Is probably not the best wire job ever, and I put a little aquamarine crystal up here. I also put a little little key charm, like to unlock things down here. But I just loved, or I still do love, all the rainbow that's in this man-made crystal. And I know there are a lot of people who are like, oh, well, man-made cannot work as well as real crystals. And, I do believe that actual crystals do have quite a power to them. And although I will agree that something man-made doesn't have the same frequency of power as something that the earth formed itself, I do believe it has a frequency and a power, and the person who is using it, remember that my feeling was that I am the person that is moving the pendulum. So if my higher self wants to talk to me, it's going to talk to me whether I've got a real crystal or a fake crystal in my hands. If my spirit guides want to talk to me, they're going to figure out a way to communicate with me, either through signs in nature, through synchronicities, seeing license plates with numbers, and, numbers at the gas pump, and, things like that, that if certain energies want to connect with me and they want to give me a message, they're going to find a way to do it. So I don't believe that this pendulum is any less useful. I've gotten some good insight, using this pendulum. And it feels really connected to me because I put it together myself. So, I made this little chain, and, I put this whole thing together. So that's just my take, and I do welcome other points of view. Obviously I don't want to say it's like my way or the highway. That's just me, and that's just my point of view. So I thought I would just share it. So, this one definitely has a special place in my heart because it is my very first pendulum. There is a little store right next to a Mexican shop called Alberto's in La Mesa, and I believe it's called Mystic Isle or something like that. And yeah, that's where I got my first tarot deck. It's where I got my first oracle deck, and it's also where I got my first pendulum. Or actually, no, my second tarot deck, my first oracle deck, and pendulum. And so these are just, this one is coral. And, since San Diego, we're pretty close to the ocean. I go to the beach a lot. I'm just really connected with ocean energy. So there's like some river stones in here. There's pieces of coral, and, just bits of the ocean. And so this one is, I don't want to say more easily influenced, at least in my opinion, how I work with it, more easily influenced by other energies that might want to pop in, and come through me to make me move it. So I have a harder time getting clear answers, but sometimes I just like holding it. And I think that sometimes instead of just using it like a regular pendulum and sometimes just holding it, I get the answers that I seek. So yeah, that's my little coral pendulum there. And my last pendulum is my Apatite. It's a stone that I really love. It's not like my fave, kind of like hemimorphite, which I have like back over here. You know, but I do like a lot of the blue stones. So I love hemimorphite, I love turquoise, I love you know, amazonite, blue argonite, you know, so I do love Apatite. And this is probably my favorite pendulum of all the pendulums that I have here. If I ever really need guidance of any sort, this is the one I use probably 99% of the time. I did add this little wing to it, otherwise it was just this little hoop here. So that's what I added. And okay, so I went to make this video, right? And I put all my pendulums on the floor so that I could detangle them, because when I picked them all up, all their chains got kind of tangled. And this one ended up falling and the tip broke off, and I was so upset. And so then I tried to super glue it, and we had mayhem, which is why my fingers are a little crusty looking. It's because, well, I glued my fingers together and we were having so much trouble with the super glue. So I asked if it's all right, and I don't know, because I don't know about when stones break. I'm like, so you could see, like, when I super glued it, because it bonds instantly. I have something called the last glue, which is better than super glue. It just like instantly bonds, and then like you're not gonna budge it. So I didn't put it on, like, it needed to slide into place, and it had already bonded, so it was like, oh, like, so it's not absolutely flat anymore because it's kind of misaligned. And I'm like, do I need a new Apatite pendulum? Because I love this one so much, of this stone. So I'm really bummed right now. I don't know. Insights, thoughts. I asked if it's okay. It says it needs a little time out. I'm like, okay. I still love you though. I don't know. I am so upset. This is my favorite one. I've used it like for a while, a long while. So I don't know. You guys who are watching this video, just thoughts, insights. Do I have to replace my favorite Apatite in the whole world? Actually, it's swinging no. So, alrighty. Well, maybe I just need to give it a time out, and I just need to get over that it's not perfect anymore. So, I don't know. You guys let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. So that's it, you guys. That's my little pendulum collection. I know there's some people with tons and tons of pendulums. To me, this is a lot. And I'm not one to buy tons of pendulums. So I'm cool with the ones that I have. Let me know if you have any comments or questions, any other comments or questions about pendulums down below, or specific ones that I have. Yeah, and I just kind of look forward to your guys' insight on what I've shown you and what I've said here today. And if you guys dug this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to click subscribe, and don't forget to click that ding 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 notification bell for more videos just like this. And if you want to catch a reading with me, head over to www.kittensweightsandtarot.com. And if you want to send a little love my way, and you like what I do here on YouTube, and you want to help support my oracle deck that I'm working on, head over to patreon.com/kittensweightsandtarot. You'll get a lot of freebies for as little as $1 a month. All right, so that's it for me, spiritual homies. I will catch you later. Peace, love, and chicken grease. Peace out!